everyone, today you will hear an interesting story. My parents lived on a small horse farm. Since childhood, I took care of the horses and knew all about it. While helping my parents on the farm, I also dealt with selling used cars. As my parents reached an advanced age, they urged me to move here with my wife Sandra. We had a wonderful son, Kevin, who is 9 years old. He was excited about the move because he loved horses. But Sandra wasn't pleased with this decision. Jason, can you explain to me why on earth we moved here? Sandra, my love, why are you bringing up this topic again? Aren't you tired of squeezing into that apartment in the noisy city? Look around. It's beautiful here, surrounded by nature, a spacious private house. I can run a small family business here and still manage my own affairs. I've never seen anything wrong with the bustling city. We had all the comforts of civilization there, and here, Kafiri. Horse manure? Darling, don't be so categorical. You'll come to like it here over time. I still don't understand why we need this. What is, didn't your parents just sell this place with all the animals? The profits here aren't significant, but the time and effort required to manage everything are enormous. Honey, you know, it's been their life's work. They don't want to sell this farm to just anyone. We can still improve things here and make a decent living. I'm willing to understand, but so much needs to be done here. And you can't just pop down to the store. It's a few kilometers away. Sandra, it's not a big deal. We have cars, and we can easily drive anywhere. It doesn't take that much time. Just look at our son. How he enjoys it. How he's fascinated by the horses. That's probably the only thing that calms me down. Fresh air is good for him. I agree. But for that, we could have just gone out into nature or visited the zoo. We didn't have to live on a stable. Sandra, look at this big, beautiful house. And the terrace. It's like a fairy tale. Trust me, after a while, you won't want to leave here. We'll see. Just to clarify, I'm not going to deal with horse manure. This was your idea from the start. Do it yourself, hire people, but don't involve me in it. Sandra's attitude toward this place certainly bothered me. However, I was willing to endure, hoping that things would settle down soon and we would all enjoy it here. Sandra was a city girl. She grew up in the city and was unfamiliar with the intricacies of living in a private house surrounded by nature. On one hand, I understood her, but I was confident that she wouldn't want to leave here after some time. Sandra worked remotely for a company, so she didn't have to commute to an office every day. Cosmetics company. She was good at selling products over the phone. She enjoyed the work and could do it from anywhere. Then over time, things indeed began to change for the better. I learned the ropes of running the farm, which wasn't easy, but I managed. Sandra started to enjoy the place, seeing everything from a new perspective. We had all the comforts for a comfortable life. I loved what I was doing, and Kevin was also interested in the farm. Our favorite pastime became horseback riding. The surrounding area had many wonderful places to explore, riding leisurely on horseback and enjoying beautiful landscapes. Sandra didn't show much interest in my affairs, but I was handling everything just fine without her help. I was able to hire a couple of additional people who assisted me. Sandra didn't enjoy horseback riding. She preferred sunbathing in the yard or going into the city to meet her friends. I didn't stop her. The most important thing was that everyone was content. And so our life continued in this remarkable place. One day, I went into the city to meet up with my friends, Eric and David, my buddies from college. We decided to hang out at our favorite pub. It was always cozy there. The pub owner took great care of the place, so it was always clean and the furniture was well maintained. Tell us, Jason, how are things on the horse farm? Asked my friend Eric. Guys, it's just wonderful. I'm gradually improving everything here. My son loves everything I do and enjoys this place as well. Sandra was skeptical at first, but she changed her mind soon enough. She's happy with everything now. Are things really okay with Sandra? Asked David mysteriously. Yeah, everything's great. No problems at all. We have peaceful, tranquil life here, unlike the noisy city. Why do you ask? Eric and David exchanged glances. Guys, don't keep me waiting. What happened? I asked, growing concerned. Well, we recently saw Sandra with her friends and a few guys. She was bragging about your farm to everyone. David and I were also at that club, but it would have been awkward to approach her and say hi. How can I put it gently, Jason? Sandra was quite flirtatious with a guy from that group. I don't know, maybe you have some sort of open relationship, but it looked really strange. She was practically glued to that guy. Guys, what nonsense are you talking? This can't be true. You've obviously got something mixed up. Sandra would never do that, and she's never cheated on me, I replied indignantly. Jason, we thought long and hard about whether to tell you about this incident. Sandra and we didn't mistake her identity. We're just your friends, and we decided to tell you. Sorry for the bad news, but that's the reality. Now it's up to you to decide what to do. After those words, my evening was ruined. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Sandra had always been a model wife. Sure, she had her moments of a bad temper, but she had never given me any reason to be jealous. I was always confident in her. I tried to find a logical explanation every time. Perhaps my friends exaggerated their story. Nevertheless, I couldn't just swallow it all without discussing it with Sandra. I recalled the evening my friends had talked about. Sandra had come home quite late that night, clearly having had a fair share of drinks, and she had claimed that she had been at her friend Jessica's house. Sandra, honey, is there something you want to tell me? I asked my wife. What are you talking about, Jason? I didn't even know how to react to this or how to approach you. Jason, what's going on? I can see you're acting nervous and mysterious. Alright, then I'll start. Do you remember the Saturday 2 weeks ago when you came home late? Yes, but I already apologized for that. I had a bit too much tequila. And where were you at that time? Jason, what's with this silly interrogation? I told you already. I was at my friend Jessica's house. That's true. You're not hiding anything from me. I asked again. No, what happened? My friend saw you at the club the other night, and you're telling me you were nowhere near there. Oh damn, yes, we were at that club. Honestly, I regret going there myself. I'm sorry for not telling you. I just wanted to forget about it. Although I should have. We were at Jessica's place first, then the girls wanted to hit the dance floor, so they dragged me along. I knew someone would recognize me there. Jason, please forgive me. I didn't want to bring it up, but there really was nothing going on. I was pretty drunk, but I was in control and remember everything. I would never allow myself to do something like that, so tell your friends not to make things up. Sandra responded aggressively. Sandra, if you're hiding anything else, tell me right here and now. I want to know everything. Sweetie, everything's fine. No issues at all. I love you more than anything and would never do anything to jeopardize us. That's the truth. Why would I need someone else when I have the most wonderful husband in the world? So I'm sorry I didn't immediately mention the club, but there was definitely nothing like that going on. Sandra's answers didn't entirely calm me down. I really wanted to believe her words, but I also knew my friends well. They wouldn't make something up unless they were sure. I was faced with a dilemma. Should I hit the brakes on this investigation or continue looking into it? However, I had no evidence, only my friend's words, which was not much. Sandra seemed determined not to reveal anything more. She assured me of her loyalty. Various thoughts started swirling in my mind. From that moment on, I couldn't find peace. My confidence began to fade. My happy life was disrupted, and I didn't know how to return to my former state of calm. It was quite distressing. But soon, I had to take Kevin to the amusement park. I decided to use this trip as a way to distract myself from my everyday concerns and sort out my thoughts, all while watching my son's excitement. Meanwhile, Sandra chose to stay home. And so Kevin and I got into the car and drove off. The amusement park wasn't nearby. We had to travel to another city, and the journey took quite a bit of time. However, when we arrived, we were greatly disappointed. The park had closed for repairs just before our arrival. Kevin was deeply upset, but I promised him that we'd buy plenty of treats when we got back home. And we'd visit that park another time. We decided not to waste time and headed back home by evening. As we pulled up to our house, an unfamiliar car was parked in the driveway. Kevin was asleep in the car, so I decided not to wake him. I got out of the car and headed towards the house where the lights were on. I walked in and saw candles lit on the dining table. There were plates with leftovers, 2 empty wine glasses, and an unfinished wine bottle. This sight sent me into shock. The only thing this setup conveyed to me was infidelity. My heart clenched, cold sweat formed on my forehead, and my hands were trembling. Inside me, a mix of rage and adrenaline surged. There was no one in the house. I stepped outside and saw light coming from the guest house with an open window. I walked over and saw Sandra with some guy. "You have a beautiful house, Sandra," the guy said. "Yes, Simon, I told you. And this guest house that I wanted to show you. My husband built recently," Sandra answered. "Yes, it's really impressive. Your husband won't turn up, will he?" "Don't worry, Simon. He took his son to the rides. It's quite far away, so he won't be back anytime soon." "That is great. He's stupid, of course, but that's his problem. Someone in this life needs to be a loser. Now come to me. I want to see something else," said the man as he threw my wife on the sofa. Simon began to touch my wife inappropriately and rip off her clothes. I was even more shocked. Sandra did not seem to object and began to moan with pleasure. My anger continued to build. Gritting my teeth, I went to the stable and chose my best horse. I took a rope and jumped on the horse. I rode up to the house on my horse and dismounted. I tied one end of the rope to the saddle and made a tightening loop at the other end. When I confronted these men, they were already wildly partying naked. But with a swift movement, I threw the noose around their legs and tightened it. Then I quickly ran out, mounted my horse, and rushed towards the forest road. "Jason, please stop," Sandra screamed, sliding her body over the bumps. "Shut your mouths and don't make a sound. We're going for a walk," I said. I dragged these men down the road. They screamed in pain and tried to free themselves, but they were unsuccessful. After a while, I stopped. The scratched and dirty men looked at me with frightened eyes. "Jason, please forgive me," Sandra began to apologize. "What are you asking for forgiveness for? It's no longer necessary. Why didn't I just believe that you were a lying bitch and cheating on me? Is that how you love me? Is that how you never cheat or betray me? Is that why you only need me?" I spoke with anger. "Jason, you're right. You're right about everything. Just let go. Stop whining. You can leave. I don't want to see you again. And you bastard, if I ever see you again, I'll definitely rip your head off. You can be sure of that," I said and kicked this man with all my strength in the stomach. "Don't go home again. I'll burn all your things. Get your fancy car. And I advise you to hurry. If it's still there in an hour, I'll burn that too. I'll get lost," I said and left these naked men in the middle of the forest. When I got home, I drained the gasoline from their car. They will be able to make it to town and will have to stop with their bare asses in the middle of a field road where there is little traffic. I burned their phones and clothes. Through the flames, I saw those frightened naked men. They ran hysterically to the car and drove away. I went back to the car and picked up Kevin, who was sleeping soundly. A short time later, I divorced Sandra. She did not try to communicate with Kevin, but it was for the best. With my son, we continued to live a happy life. After a while, I found out that Sandra was still with that man, Simon. He worked in construction and made good money. But after a while, I found out that he was caught stealing from a large company. Caught on a large bribe for building in an illegal place, he was put in jail for a long time. Even though I didn't care anymore, it was still very satisfying that this criminal was behind bars. Later, I heard that he was released, but he did not stay free for long. He was hit by a car and broke almost all of his bones, and unfortunately, he did not survive. Sandra didn't have a great life either. From my acquaintances, I heard that she was evicted from a rented apartment for not paying rent. She wandered around asking friends for help, but no one trusted her anymore. She ended up becoming a dirty homeless woman. I was told that if I had seen her, I would not have recognized her. I was not interested in Sandra's future, but it was clear that nothing good would come her way. Despite the betrayal, I was able to move on. I even met Michelle, who loved horses. I was much happier with her than with Sandra. She'll helped me forget about the betrayal. We often went horseback riding together as a family. Kevin really liked Michelle. Although he did not call her mom, she completely replaced Sandra for him. Michelle was a much better mother. She was devoted to both me and Kevin, which made me very happy. I also managed to improve my parenting business, and my income increased significantly, making my life even better than before.